Be vegan, make peace, do good deeds. Heaven Godspeed.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule.
In 2021, Supreme Master Ching Hai presented the Shining World Land Protection Award to Yacouba Sawadogo, along with a token $10,000 humble contribution to support his sustained efforts to reforest and rehabilitate barren desert lands and increase food productivity. Yacouba Sawadogo, transforming desert into forests and farmland. Please continue watching to find out more.
No to vegan, cause what for are you hating wise words when you want to remain stupid?
If you hear Initile, why in Guinea, this means good day in Manica, one of the native languages of the country. Con viewers, I'm Aminata. The animal persons and people of charming Guinea wish that your everyday is filled with Allah's limitless blessings. Welcome to our show entitled Yacouba Sawadogo, Transforming Desert into Forest and Farmland. As a result of destructive human activities and climate change, large areas of the earth are being desertified at an unprecedented rate. According to the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, or UNCCD, by 2045, as many as 135 million people could be displaced by this phenomenon. Desertification is considered one of the most severe environmental problems faced by humankind. This is particularly true of Africa's Sahara Desert, once a meadow covered in vegetation about 6,000 years ago. However, there are contemporary stories of heroic resistance to the degradation of arid lands in our world. A hero named Yacouba Sawadogo is a farmer and a Shining World Land Protection Award recipient who has been successfully restoring soils damaged by desertification and drought. Mr. Sawadogo, who is locally known as the man who stopped the desert, also received the Right Livelihood Award in 2020, widely considered the alternative Nobel Prize, as well as the Champions of the Earth Award from the United Nations Environmental Programme, or UNEP. Mr. Sawadogo, a native speaker of Mossi, was born in the northern province of Yatenga in the West African nation of Burkina Faso in 1946. As a child, Yacouba Sawadogo led a very hard life. At the age of 7, he was sent away from home to a religious school in Mali, where he and his classmates often didn't have enough food to eat. The small boys would walk across kilometers of wilderness and beg for food. After attending the school, Yacouba returned to Yatenga and opened a stall at a local market. Though very successful, he decided to go into farming. Given the desert-like conditions and the prolonged drought in his area, the then young man was determined to develop ways that could restore the depleted soil to enable crop growing. Due to factors such as overcultivation, overgrazing, and poor land management, the soil in Burkina Faso has suffered from heavy erosion and drying over the decades. Such practices also resulted in an annual 1-meter reduction in the water table of northern Burkina Faso in the 1980s. The region, which is part of the Sahel, has suffered from severe aridity and desertification since the 1970s. The drying out of once fertile plains and the resulting drought caused hundreds of thousands of deaths from 1972 to 1984. The authorities made many efforts to remedy this situation, but to no avail. While the droughts ruined harvest and caused famine, about 25% of the village population gave up on their own homelands and headed for the cities during this period. However, Yacouba Sawadogo chose to stay there instead and try to work out how to make the land productive again. People were living, and the animals and trees were dying, recalled the farmer. So we had to look at a new way to farm because all of the good soil was disappearing, and if we stayed here doing nothing, our life was at risk. So the illiterate cultivator in a small town in northern Burkina Faso decided to take matters into his own hands. With no access to modern tools and approaches and the lack of education, Mr. Sawadogo started thinking about how to prevent desertification in his country in the most efficient and effective way. Along with Dr. Mathieu Ouedraogo, an agricultural economist, he decided to use and modify the ancient African farming practice called zai, a simple and cheap technique that could be utilized by any farmer to rehabilitate drought-damaged soil. Before Mr. Sawadogo improved the zai method, local farmers waited until the rainy season to dig small holes with holes in the degraded soil to collect water. Modifying this approach, Yacouba Sawadogo prepares his land and digs deeper and wider holes well before the rains come, and then fills them with compost and biodegradable waste in the dry season. In fact, zai means to start early in the Mosi language. Seeds are then placed in the pit after the first rainfall. The modifications not only aid water and biomass retention, but also attract termites to help break up the hard ground and decompose the organic material, thereby making the soil richer in nutrients. Doing so thus creates very favorable conditions for plant growth.
When I have a veggie burger, I am not torturing anything. If I have a real hamburger, there should be the price of the torture that goes into the cow. Richard Green, vegan.
Noble viewers, we will now take a moment to thank the tremendous efforts of fruit and vegetable farmers worldwide and then return shortly. Please stay tuned to Supreme Master Television. Welcome back to our program, Yacouba Sawadogo, Transforming Desert into Forest and Farmland on Supreme Master Television. Another technique Mr. Sawadogo uses to facilitate cultivation is known as stone lines. This method slows down the flow of runoff from rainfall by using small blocks of rubble or stones that are arranged in a thin line across a field. The stone lines not only can slow down the water, but also can allow the deposition of rich sediment behind the barrier, so there is less erosion and more water for the crops. This makes it a very effective climate adaptation solution. In the beginning, no one imagined how successful he would become and called him a madman. Despite the resistance from local farmers, over time, he stopped the advancement of the desert and successfully transformed the barren and abandoned land in his village into a huge 40-hectare forest that now has more than 96 trees and 66 plant species, as well as a variety of wildlife. Some of the plants in this forest are edible and medicinal. This forest is considered one of the hugest and most diverse woodlands created and managed by a farmer in the Sahel. The innovative restoration has significantly boosted agricultural productivity in Burkina Faso. When rainfall arrives, his pits collect more water that feeds down to the seeds, increasing crop yields by up to 500% according to the UNEP. One 2018 study published in the journal Sustainability indicated that this method has improved food security, water tables, tree cover, and biodiversity. Mr. Sawadogo's farming approach has also led to substantial positive environmental and socio-economic transformation. Sharing agricultural knowledge has always been at the heart of Yacouba's philosophy. He invited representatives of other villages to come to his village to share their experiences with his innovative Zai technique. He says 95% of farmers in his region take advantage of the method now. Zai's use has expanded out from Burkina Faso to neighboring Mali and further into the Sahel. It is utilized by agriculturists across a 6,000-kilometer stretch of Africa. Today, the practice has even spread to Asian countries. Tens of thousands of hectares of land that were completely unproductive have been made productive again thanks to the techniques of Yacouba, said Dutch desertification expert Dr. Chris Rage. He further added, Yacouba has single-handedly had more impact on conservation than all the national and international researchers put together. Due to his extraordinary life story, Mr. Sawadogo was the subject of a 2010 documentary titled The Man Who Stopped the Desert, created by award-winning filmmaker Mark Dad. This film received numerous accolades. Yacouba Sawadogo has received many prestigious awards. First, in honor of his dedication to this pioneering work in the semi-arid African desert, the UNCDD recognized him one of its first ever global dryland champions in 2013. Next, the Burkinabe farmer received the 2018 Right Livelihood Award, widely known as the Alternative Nobel Prize, for turning barren land into forest and demonstrating how farmers can regenerate their soil with innovative use of indigenous and local knowledge.
Elit la hinsiki zamana kinga tawo la nit sam pato tik bu mu fa zamana pato kinga tawo.
In 2020, he was awarded the UNEP's 2020 Champions of the Earth Award for Inspiration and Action. It is the UN's highest environmental honor and recognizes outstanding leaders from government, civil society, and the private sector. In 2021, Supreme Master Chinhai presented the Shining World Land Protection Award to Yacouba Sawadogo along with a token $10,000 humble contribution to support his sustained efforts to reforest and rehabilitate barren desert lands and increase food productivity.
Supreme Master Chinhai, vegan, is deeply grateful to the most merciful, beloved God for all the financial help, comfort, and support to the afflicted and needy. and or any good cause over the years as a humble vessel for His compassion and love toward His precious children.
Humans, animal people, and the environment all depend on trees and forests to survive. However, a 2015 study calculated that we have lost about 50% of the planet's trees. With his tenacity and talent, the man who stopped the desert, Yacouba Sawadogo, has done much for his country and Africa in terms of boosting tree and green cover. His achievements are very impressive and inspiring, and wish him much continued success. We also can grow more trees, like Sawadogo, to help our community and our respective country. Planting more trees benefits our country and the world. However, the effects of adopting a vegan diet are much greater and far-reaching. This is not only the easiest measure that we can take, but also the most effective method to save humans, co-inhabitants, and our precious planet. We pray for more people to plant more trees and soon embrace a vegan diet. Genuine viewers, let's now wrap up our show with an excerpt from a lecture by our beloved Supreme Master Jinhai on the spiritual benefits of having trees in our lives.
树木有一些树是等级很高，你们不知道了，到第5阶的，哈，有一些树很大，灵气很多，所以很多人坐在它那边打坐啊，或是觉得很舒服。所以你们去哪个某些公园啊，其实小树他们等级也不高，不过第3阶也是很舒服啊，了解吗？他们这样子站，为了保护世界，为了把我们世界弄稳固的，然后给大家阳气，有没有 ？OK， 然后他们收起进去叹气了，这是一种收业障啊，给福报。如果不是高等级的众生，怎么能够这样做？你看他们呢，没有眼睛，没有嘴巴，没有任何，怎么能够知道怎么弄呢？啊，有灵气，有灵性，听懂没有？所以所有的东西都要那个尊重的，啊，不要太滥用哈，太利用啊。有一些树啊，很高啊，很大的一些种类的树啊，就他们愿意来这边，为了保护我们的，为了给我们一点那个他们的那个福报，所以你们不要随便砍树啊、剪树啊。这边不晓得政府有没有禁止啊？别的国家像那种很大的树，你要砍了要申请哦，懂？即使你自己种也是一样。
Continue to eat animal people meat so that you can know what lonely suffering is like when you are in hellfire and no one helps you.
Thank you, loving viewers, for joining us for our program. Coming up next is If You Give Peace, You Will Have Peace. Whatever we want, we have to plant it. Part 3 of 5 on Between Master and Disciples, right after noteworthy news. With God's grace, may we see the swift arrival of the vegan era on our planet.
Be vegan, make peace, do good deeds, hell not reach.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule and suprememastertv.com/GPGW.
Nos programmes offrent plusieurs langues. Veuillez visiter suprememastertv.com/schedule y suprememastertv.com/GPGW.
Nuestros programas ofrecen varios idiomas. Visiten suprememastertv.com/schedule y suprememastertv.com/GPGW.
Chương trình của chúng tôi cung ứng nhiều ngôn ngữ. Xin xem suprememastertv.com/schedule và suprememastertv.com/GPGW.